Annalisa, your host for today and always. And I'm so glad that you've decided to join me. We're officially back on our regular schedule. Over the summer month, I only recorded a podcast episode every month. But the weather has turned. It's almost September, which means we're back to our regular 2-week schedule. Yay! I hope you've brought a nice hot beverage. I could do with another cup of coffee. I don't have one. Oh well. And you're knitting and want to chat a little bit about what I've been knitting and some exciting things that are waiting to jump on my needles today. Because that's basically what we're going to be talking about. This is a podcast about knitting. Here at Making Stories, we're all about knitting sustainably. So if you're looking for, your yarn for your project or really fabulous patterns to go with all natural yarns, check out what we have on offer at makingstories.com. Let's dive right into it, shall we? So I want to sort of talk a little bit about what's been happening in the last 2 weeks before I dive into my knitting, because it's kind of impacted what I've been knitting on. First up was what I think will have been the last heat wave of this year here in Berlin. 35 degrees centigrade for like 2 weeks. Incredible humidity. It's like incredible humanity. No, incredible humidity. And that severely impacted what I wanted to knit, and honestly also how much I wanted to knit. Because the project that I was breezing through beforehand is wonderful, but it's a DK weight sweater. And so I was like, I tried it a couple of times, but I had to put it away after like 3 rows because I just couldn't. So I have the project with me to show you how much progress I've made, because I finished the body since we last talked. But then I also worked a lot on a pair of socks and something new that's in this little bag. Side note, because colder weather means knitwear, I just super quickly want to talk about, sorry, this is like a little bit all over this place, the podcast episode. But I normally don't introduce what I'm wearing, but I realized that every time that I wear something knitted on the podcast, which is more often than not, you are wondering what this is, rightly so. And so I just quickly wanted to mention the violet tee that I am wearing today, which is a fantastic pattern by Jessica McDonald. We had some kits for this available earlier this year, and it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful, beautifully designed t-shirt. And I knit mine in Rerum Sauna. The colorway is 1985, and I love it. Sauna is a 50% Andalusian cotton, 50% Spanish wool blend. So I think especially for this transitional weather that we've been, so I'm just looking over there because there's like the window, there is the window over there. Anyways, sauna is great for those, in between season times. So yeah, I am waiting for a reorder, but we do still have, I think, some of every single colorway in stock, depending on how much you need. You might want to wait a little bit until we have our reorder coming in. But if you want to make something sort of for the not quite cold but cooler days, sauna would be a great choice. Anyways, let's talk about the one thing that I haven't really been knitting on very much, which is my Twisted Vines sweater, which is this gorgeousness. It's from our issue 5, and it's designed by Joan Forgione, a top-down saddle shoulder sweater with an incredible construction that I talked about all in the last podcast episode. And when I last showed you, I was almost done with the body. It's a bit wrinkly. As you can see, and it's living in my trusted mustard roll top number 3 hide and hammer bag. as you can see, I have finished the body. And I have started working on one sleeve. And I knit like 3 rows on the one sleeve. And then I decided it was too warm. So yeah. I am planning on alternating knitting on this with the other bigger project that is new on my needles that I'm going to show you a little bit later, because I think this is going to be a new go-to sweater in my wardrobe, and I really want to have it finished. And yeah, I mean, I breezed through the body basically. That was just really lovely, relaxing knit, because DK weight sweaters, I think they just go so fast. I love it. The yarn that I'm using here is Woollentwine's Heritage DK, which I don't think is available anymore, but someone has told me that if you like that yarn, you should keep an eye on Eula's shop, because there might be something there later this year. So that was number 1 that you've already seen. Number 2 that you've already seen are my lovely green socks of Black Isle Yarn's Killen sock. Aren't they gorgeous? I just love them. And the yarn. Yeah, the yarn. The yarn is fabulous. This particular yarn, not this colorway, but this yarn is the yarn that we had in our... No, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to save the reveal for a little later time. But anyways, it's a wonderful sock yarn. Knits up with really crisp stitch definition, and I'm really excited about them. And I started the second one. I always knit, when I knit toe up vanilla socks, I knit the toe on large circulars, and then at some point I switched to the mini circular. So you can see I'm at the foot. These I haven't really worked on in the last week or so, just because they're like perfect playground knitting and stuff, and we didn't really do a lot of playgrounding last week. Anyways, pair of socks, great, always great to have on the needles. You know how much I love knitting socks. And then the third one that I want to show you, I'm just realizing I don't actually have the physical copy of the pattern here, so I can't show you how it looks like when it's done, but I am going to insert a picture here, is something new on my needles. So when I was in the middle of the heat wave and I realized, okay, I'm not knitting, it does affect my mental health when I'm not knitting, and I didn't feel like just working on socks. And so I decided to cast on one last summer top that I probably won't get very much wear out of it, but then again, it's also something that I can layer under like a shirt or something in the fall. And so I decided to just go ahead. I have knit with this yarn previously in the summer. I made a grassland tee by Susan Schädler out of the Rerum Natura's Antigone. Antigone is a fantastic sport weight linen yarn, and it was really good because I really like the fabric of my grassland tee, and so I just took the gauge from that, so I didn't have to swatch, which was amazing for this number, which is also living in another Hide and Hammer bag. This is a limited edition, and can we just talk about how great this neon is? Anyways, the pattern that I'm knitting is the Piteraq top by Solène Roux from Breeze, so our second book. And I've actually made quite a bit of progress on it. So this is going to be, I'm going to insert a picture here. This is going to be a tank top, so sleeveless with a crew neck. A lot of stockinette action happening. And then this lovely little panel that's going to run down the side of the body. And this has been my travel companion for the weekend. I went and visited a really good friend of mine who lives in Helsinki over the weekend, and I got a lot done. Like before the weekend, I was maybe halfway through the ribbing, and now I'm here, and it makes me very, very happy. The pattern is one that we published before we expanded our size range, so it only comes in 6 sizes. I am knitting size 4, which should give me a generous amount of ease, about like 15 to 18 centimeters of positive ease, and I think it's gonna come out really nice, you know, like just like an oversized. I don't like my shirts to be too tight. Now that I am looking at it, it is gonna be quite oversized. But hey, that's okay. I am contemplating at the moment how long to knit the body. So the pattern calls for 40 centimeters of, more than 40, almost 42 centimeters of side body length. So armholes to, sorry, I should do this the other way around, armhole to the end of the hem. And I kind of want to measure it against the t-shirts that I really like wearing at the moment, because it feels a little bit long. I don't want to end up with something that's too long. So that's something that I'm going to do later today before I continue knitting on it, because, you know, I want to wear it. As I said, I went with the same gauge as my grassland tee, which coincidentally is exactly the pattern gauge. So that's fantastic. I'm knitting it on 4mm needles, and it has this beautiful drape to it. Just look at it. That's beautiful. Yeah. The colorway is one of the 9 new ones of Antigone. It's called Graphite, and I think I love it. I love it. It's sort of the color that my previous glasses, like the frames, were. So I really, really like it. It's this bluish dark gray. So yeah, very happy with that. I hope that, you know, I can finish this reasonably quickly. I have a little bit of husband and kid free time. Well, today's the last day, so because they went to visit my in-laws and stayed a little longer than I did in Helsinki. And so yesterday I just binge watched almost the entire 2nd season of Shadow and Bone, which I hadn't seen before. And so I made a lot of progress. I still have 2 episodes left, which I'm hoping to watch tonight. So get to do a bit more knitting on that. Great. Let me quickly check that I am actually, in fact, recording this, which I am. Okay. I am back, and I want to talk a little bit about knitting plans. I should also maybe take a breath. Sorry, I feel like this is just like I'm rushing through things a little bit. Yeah. As you know, we have our issue 10 anniversary issue, Heirloom, release date just around the corner. It's going to be released next week on Tuesday, September 5th. And I have picked out my cast on pattern, and I have yarn for it, so I want to share it with you. If you want to get issue 10, you can do so by pre-ordering it through us or through one of our stockists. You can also subscribe. In both of these cases, you get access to your digital copy immediately, and we are shipping out subscriptions and pre-orders now, so you'll also get your physical copy as fast as the mail delivery goes. So yeah, and then we'll celebrate the release next week on September 5th. We have our collective knit night that evening. So if you're part of the Making Stories collective, I would love to see you there and celebrate our 10th magazine issue. 10! Can believe it? I can't. And speaking of issue 10, if you want to see all of the samples in action, do check out our sample video for issue 10 that I uploaded to YouTube last week. I'm also going to link to it in the down bar below, because there I showcase all of the patterns, all of the samples, the 2 new yarns that we're going to be launching on September 5th. We have 2 kits and they're really, really, really beautiful. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out that video. I record these videos for every single issue because I find it personally just very different to see samples in motion and on camera than in a static photo. Nothing wrong with static photos, but there's just something about showing the drape and how the fabric, how the fabric feels that I think is a bit easier to be done on video than it is in photos. So yeah, check that out if you like. Now, I have a lot of patterns in here that I want to knit, but I decided to start with something that is in a category that I currently don't have on my needles, which is a more elaborate sock design. So I always try to have like a pair of just simple soothing stockinette socks, but then I also really like the more intricate sock designs. I realized that when I worked through my Pebbles and Pathways socks that I shared about in the last podcast episode, and I kind of miss having like a more intricate pair of socks on my needles. Complete sort of like side note segue here. Why is that? I think for the longest time after Oren was born, so Oren's turning 4 in September, there wasn't, I'm feeling like I've turned a corner in sort of the head space, mental space, not, I wouldn't call it clarity, but just how much space and capacity I have for generally more elaborate things in life again. So for a good few years, it was like, I don't know, it just didn't feel, I felt like doing things that were maybe requiring a little less attention. And I think that's because there was first a baby and then a toddler that required more attention. And now it's incredible, like on the cusp of his 4th birthday and like so independent and it's amazing. And I think that just freed up a little bit of mental space for me there. Hence the desire to work on more elaborate sock patterns. And then, as if it was fate, a new sock yarn came on the market. So the pattern that I'm gonna knit are these. The Crystal Socks by Izabela Grzybek, also goes by Wildberry Creative. They're a calf-down pair of socks inspired by crystal vases. And they have this really fabulous heel construction there. You work the gusset basically below the foot, which I think is fantastic. Or the heel turn below. I think it's going to be fabulous. And these were originally designed for Woolentwine's Corriedale sock. Woolentwine is the brand name of Jule, who is a dyer in Hamburg, and she is all about natural dyeing and sourcing really beautiful non-superwash yarns. And Jule has put the Corriedale sock base on hiatus for the moment because she's just launched her very own custom spun all natural sock yarn, which I'm really excited about. And we talked about it at first when she messaged me to say that Corriedale sock was going on hiatus just before the release of issue 10. I was like, no, because that's exactly the kind of situation that we want to avoid, right? Like, we want you to be able to purchase the yarn that the pattern calls for if you like to. You can obviously also always substitute, but like, we choose these yarns for a reason. In this case, a very good stitch definition. So it's like, But then when Yula said that she is going to have a different sock base that is, custom spun and shares a lot of the stitch definition with Corriedale's sock, I was like, okay, great. And then she launched it a couple of weeks ago and I couldn't resist. I had to get a new skein of Ovis, it's called. And this is a 50% Cheviot, 50% Jacob's blend. So the base that this is dyed on is gray. And I chose the colorway Heather, which is this beautiful mauvey, purpley, dusty pink shade. Because I think that the sock pattern will just shine in it. I think it's going to be super beautiful to see those twisted stitches in this yarn. I think it's gonna be great. So yeah, so this is gonna be my first cast on for issue 10. I would love to know what you're planning to cast on if you've made up your mind yet. Yeah, do let me know. Comment down below. And on the topic of socks, I also want to end with a bit of shop news. So we talked about pre-ordering issue 10, which you can do so, and I would love for you to do it. We are not completely sold out, but we are very close to sort of getting there. We have, I think, like 200 copies, maybe 250 copies left. And the last ones, they do, if we sell out, they do tend to go pretty fast. So if you want to secure your copy, then head over to makingmindthestories.com. Now, pre-order it. I'd love to see that. Okay, last but not least, some exciting shop news, because I wanted to showcase this thing that I'm going to show you in its beauty before it actually goes onto my needles. So I have been working with Alice from Woolmatters behind the scenes on something really, really special for Socktober. So you know how much I and the entire team here at Making Stories loves knitting socks. So Socktober is always a big celebration here. We have a few really fun things planned this year. So we have a Socktober celebration. We're also going to be launching new slots for our sock subscription in October, and we're gonna have a very special shop update in October as well. And these are part of the shop update. Alice of Woolmatters is a phenomenon when it comes to natural dyeing. She just achieves the most glorious, glowing colors. And I approached her a while back whether she'd be interested in exploring a self-striping, naturally dyed, all-natural sock yarn with me. Because I love self-striping sock yarns. I adore them. I haven't found a single one that is non-superwash. Mondim by Retrosaria Rosa Pomar has some resemblance to self-striping, but not like the clear-cut self-striping that I wanted. Everything else has nylon in it. And so I was super thrilled when Alice said yes, she would very much like to work on this. And she's just been a rock star. She experimented and experimented to make this work. Sorry, that was my mom calling. She just experimented and experimented. So I am very, very happy to show you the first of 2 sock sets that we're gonna have. They don't have names yet. If you have a name idea for this one, do let me know. Isn't this glorious? I think this is so fabulous. So yeah, I'm gonna knit this one up into socks so that you can see how they actually knit up as stripes, and Alice is gonna do that to the other color combination that we have, and then they'll be available in October. Yay! Alrighty, lovelies, this was everything that I had for you today. Do let me know which pattern from issue 10 you are gonna cast on first, whether you're joining me in the adventure of the more elaborate sock patterns or you're going the cozy comfy sweater route. I would love to know. And if you have a colorway name suggestion for this, do let me know as well. I will be back here in 2 weeks. In the meantime, do check out the sample video from issue 10, and yeah, have a wonderful start of September.